My guest today is the developer of the gothic horror adventure puzzle game, The Foretold Westmark Legacy, which is notable as it's an adventure card game inspired by H P Lovecraft. From Nodbrim Interactive, welcome to the Point and Click Adventurers podcast, Martin Kupski. Hello.
Thanks. Hi.
How are you doing?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing fine. Everything's like hectic now because of the Kickstarter, so it's a lot of
Yeah.
work to do.
Yeah, well, we'll move on to that shortly. But yeah, let's talk about the Foretold Westmark Legacy.
Mhm.
Tell us the story about how this came about, because it's not your average adventure game. It's a card game.
Yeah, it started off as a card game in the beginning because we wanted to do like something different than we've been doing before. Still keeping at it for turn-based games because that's kind of what I'm looking for. But like then I'm a big lover of point and click games, adventure games in general. So it's like I've always wanted to tell a story which was kind of more than just the average, card games nowadays don't boast much about their storytelling capabilities. And I wanted to kind of try to fuse those two genres together in a nice way. So it's like a little bit of adventure card game and a little bit of RPG because I play a lot of tabletop role playing games. So it's a very kind of interesting mission mash of all my interests in one. Kind
Yeah.
of to get everything into one kind of nice package.
Nice. Now, did the story come first and then you decided to make it into a card game, or did you think, I'm going to make a card game, let's write a story around it?
The story was already kind of in place because it's like a spiritual successor to another game we made, which was called Westmark Manor. So this one is gonna be like it's a bit different. Like the gameplay is totally different, and the story isn't really based on the story before, slightly. So you play as Herbert Westmark, which is the uncle of the main character from the last game. So that's the hook between those games. And you're in Bournemouth exploring the town and kind of investigating what happened at the estate that you're now a heir of. Like you basically everybody's dead in your family and you're one, or Herbert is the only one that kind of gets the keys to the place and kind of yeah, fortune and all that stuff. But he's a weird little person because like he has a demonic parasite attached to him called Ambrose. They have this interesting relationship together. I'm not going to spoil everything because the fun of it is just getting to know them during the game. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the big like the big part of it. Like you go through the whole game, exploring, getting to know Herbert and Ambrose and what they're about. And their goal is to get rid of each other. So they're not like a good couple. It's like a very bad relationship, but they're kind of dealing with everything together.
Yeah. Now I've played the demo. I've actually played it twice. I came to your booth at Adventure X,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a really fun game. Now, those who haven't been to Adventure X, there's like hundreds and hundreds of people, and there was like 20 or so demos now. So it's very busy. And your game is it needs a lot of concentration because there's a lot of stuff going on. And I it was a game that got stuck in my mind. So I'm glad that you're on this podcast for one. But you sent me the demo to play again at home. So I played it at Adventure X. I played it for maybe 20 minutes or so. I played it for nearly 2 hours yesterday,
Ooh,
like
that's
a couple of times. And it's one of those games that really, really gets in your head. So like, how did you come up with the story? Obviously, you said the game is a spiritual successor to Westmark Manor.
yeah.
So like, how did you come up with the characters in the first place? Because that ghost spirit is pretty unique.
Yeah, Ambrose is he's special. Like credit is where credit is due. I didn't write the whole story myself. I have my friend also who helped me co-write the whole manuscript. And our voice actor, Michael Schwabel, did an amazing job with both Herbert and Ambrose. He's doing both voices himself.
Wow, I didn't
And
know that. That's really good.
yeah, he's really talented, and like that worked really well for us. He just gave it like this weird voice for this Ambrose character that kind of just sticks with you. And I was afraid that it's going to be too much of an annoying thing, like him being this nagging kind of weird beast thing, but it kind of worked out fairly good. So yeah, I mean, where it came from, I don't know. I have a weird sense of humor, so that's kind of that. And we're selling it as a gothic horror, but it's like gothic horror with a hint of comedy because it's not like straight on very serious. It has a little bit of levity here and there. So we're kind of poking fun of the genre and all that stuff.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with that. Like when you start off as Herbert, it is dark and misty, and he's a very serious character.
Mm.
And you get drawn in, and then not long after, yeah, just that Ambrose character just pops up.
Yep.
Like, and he's almost like he's not comedy in the like slapstick sense of the word, but he's very dry, and they work together brilliantly. So yes, well, well done on that.
I mean, I'm looking at it as a body cop horror kind of thing. So it's like you know, Lethal Weapon and all those kind of things where you have like this serious character and then like this wacky character
Yeah.
getting along, and they're in for the ride, but they don't want to be together. So it's like this push and pull throughout the whole story.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got this you've like you say you've got the story, and the main mechanic is cards. I mean, how do you go about writing a brand new card game, let alone implementing it in an adventure game?
That is the hard part. Like we started off as a poker kind of a thing, then it went to solitaire. So that's kind of where the idea from the cards dropping down on the board. And I'm a big fan of board games, so I wanted to do it something different, like a board game, and not where you're throwing attacks on enemies, because that's not what you're doing. You're kind of unlocking the stuff you're bringing into combat
Yeah.
in a like different way. It's kind of hard to explain because like it started off very kind of complex, and then it got even more complex, and then we kind of dumbed it down because it got too advanced or too intricate and like too many mechanics and stuff. So it got simplified along the way, and now it's like in a good place, I think, where it's like just a right amount of uh, where you start to think where you're gonna do your next move and stuff like that, but it's not too overly intricate and all that stuff, so you lose interest or something like that. So like the battles are fairly short and kind of to the point, and if you plan ahead and do your choices, it gives you different results.
Yeah.
Also, like if anybody's not interested in the actual card combat mechanic itself, we're going to have like a pacifist mode where you can go in and skip the whole combat part, where you're going to basically play the story itself.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's really interesting because I mean, I when I came to approach you at Adventure X, I'm not really interested in battles in any form in any adventure game. An adventure game to me is an adventure game.
yeah,
But I approached it open-minded, thought I'd give it a go, and like I said, like yesterday, I played it for 2 hours because it's so addictive. There's a lot of strategy in the card playing. Like you look at the board, and you know you've got a certain set of moves, but you know your first move is going to affect your second and third move, and so it's quite intricate, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, it's not for everybody, but like most people who tried it at Adventure X really loved it because it's not this card game you're like that's on the market right now. It's very kind of unique and simple to learn, hard to master, so to speak. Uh, so like yeah, of course we have some work to do with the like in onboarding the tutorial parts where people kind of need to learn the new way of playing because there's no real like precedents before that's been done before like this. But I think it's kind of interesting because people at least I am quite tired of most games that are come out like cookie cutter mechanics that are basically copy pasted from other games. And we try to make something different, something new. That's kind of our motto with Nodbrim as a company. That's kind of what we want to explore, new avenues, try new things that aren't mainstream. So
Yeah. Alongside the fact that it's a card game and that mechanics, what I also really liked about it is the fact that it's you can make different choices, and obviously you can't backtrack. So as you're going through the map, you could go left, you could go right, you could go straight on, and obviously things go differently. And that's how I managed to play it a couple of times yesterday. Talk
yeah,
us
and
through how you do that.
yeah, the main story is built like a whole web kind of thing. So once you go a path, you're gonna have a one part of the story kind of revealed to you. You're not gonna get the other parts. So like depending on which route you go, you're gonna meet different people, do different things. So like it's node based, so we just spread the nodes around, connect them to the different dialogue trees that we've like set up, and yeah, I mean, it's like very rogue-like, but not randomized in that sense. So it's like you explore the map, but you have full like control over where you go. Even though you can't backtrack because that would just break the whole like linear storytelling parts. Because we wrote it as a linear story, but in branches. It's kind of hard to explain. Like writing a story for a game is totally different from writing a book or a film or whatever, because it's at least if you're doing branching story paths, that's the hard part where you kind of need to connect the dots and kind of move it along, but you don't want to break the different branches. So like if you meet a person, you actually kind of remember them later and stuff like that. So we had to kind of do a lot of technical stuff to make it work for that part.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it does. It drawn me back a few times, so that definitely works. Now, I mentioned in the intro, it's inspired by H P Lovecraft. Now, me, I'm a Philistine, and I know the name H P Lovecraft, and I know kind of the look of what it is, but I don't really know any of the lore. I mean, what have you taken from Lovecraft into the game?
Lovecraft is basically the style of writing and the very flary, like flowery way of describing things, because the narrative in the game isn't like just straight up dialogues. It's sometimes just Herbert narrating what he sees or feels or smells or whatever. So you get like it's a halfway thing between an audiobook and a actual like movie and stuff. So it's like yeah, a little bit of mix with the storytelling, which I like because you get a little bit of feel for the character and how he is like experiencing the whole thing. So you can live yourself in him through him in that sense. It helps having the whole game voiced, because reading all that dialogue would take forever and
Yeah.
people don't like to read.
Yeah. Now it is voiced very well. It's also drawn very well. It looks beautiful. That's one of the things that draw me to it at Adventure X. Who's responsible for that? Is that you?
Yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
I do basically everything that has to do with art and game design and some level design and all that stuff. But and then Christopher, who is the programmer, does all the kind of technical stuff. And then we have Magnus, who does the sound design and music. We also have Graham Plowman, who's doing a lot of Lovecraftian kind of music as a composer. So we hired him to do the theme, and hopefully if the Kickstarter reaches stretch goals, one particular stretch goal is where we can actually hire him for the full soundtrack. That would be awesome. Yeah, that's the team, and also helped out writing the story with me and doing the editing. So it's a very small team.
Yes. So that is the team of Nodbrim Interactive. Now,
Yeah.
is it all? Have you guys been together from the start? Because I see on your on the Steam page, there's 3 games. Well, 2 games under your belt, with this one, the third one coming out. So, how do you guys start out as Nodbrim?
It was me and Christopher. We founded the company together, doing our first title, Acaratus, which is a turn-based tactical RPG. Uh, uh, we started off on another project, and we kind of that project fell through, didn't really work out. But me and him, we kind of stuck together. Left the team we were in and just started a company because we wanted to do turn-based games uh, with stories in them. Because the first game we did was also like a very story-driven kind of adventure, but it's totally different from what we're doing now. But that was like a medieval steampunk kind of world. So it was interesting way of just experimenting because our first game was like we built our own engine, we started from scratch and like didn't know anything. My background was from films and commercials, and I jumped into gaming after a while, uh, working there for 13 years in the industry. So it's been a while. The company has been around since 2015, I believe. And yeah, so then we just kind of started Westmark Manor, which I wanted to be a more overarching kind of world where I could just do more than one game, so I don't need to rebuild a new world every time we do a new game. So this time it's like the Foretold is basically a collection of gothic horror stories where we want to do several titles after this if it's a success.
Excellent. So there's a long-term plan there for
Yeah.
Westmark. Now I met you at Adventure X. How was the event for you? Meeting, like, how is it watching people play your game?
Oh yeah, that's always like nerve-wracking and exciting at the same time. Like it's fun to see people interact with your stuff you've done, but you don't know how to react to it. So it's always a surprise. Like most of the people like just got it instantly and kind of enjoyed it. Some people were kind of like they liked it, they wanted to like want to play it, but there was so much noise around. So like the game kind of needs your attention, so it's kind of hard to like display a game like this on an event like that. Otherwise, like I love Adventure X. It was really fun to meet all people I met on Twitter. And it's like just hanging around, kind of trying out new games, even though I didn't really have much time to play any of them. I looked at them mostly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really nice. It's met a lot of new people as well, which was worth the trip, all that. So
Yeah, it's going to be way. It's not like I live an hour away from Adventure X. You guys are
yeah.
on
Yeah,
the
I'm in
continent.
Sweden, like southern Sweden, so I had to kind of fly over to London and be there. So yeah, that was. I mean, I haven't been in London for like 10 years or so, so it's been a while. But I kind of love the town, so it's nice to get back there and kind of just
Yeah.
there for a while.
Yeah. Now you have a Kickstarter on the way to help get this game out. So at the time of recording this, Kickstarter is not out, but when this podcast goes out, it is live right now. So make sure that you go and support it, everybody. I'll leave links in descriptions and stuff. So tell us about the Kickstarter, what you're asking for, why, etc., that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the goal for the Kickstarter is $25,000, and that's just covering basically like the sound designer, some localization, porting, and all. It's like basics for production, basically. The rest of the funding we get from our publisher, so we get some support from that. So basically, it's just a way of us kind of building a community and getting people on board to kind of help out the rest of the way for the release, because we are releasing this year. So it's not long until it's done. So it's just getting that little last 10% finish line thing. That's why we're hitting Kickstarter. Also, it's kind of fun to kind of get to know the players who are playing the game, and like they have some feedback, which is always very like helpful for us to make the best game we can make. And like all the rewards are fun because we're gonna have even physical rewards for the higher tiers. So
Yeah,
that's really nice.
that was going to be one of my questions actually. As it's a card game, is there an option to buy a deck as such?
Maybe not a whole deck. You can get some cards, maybe. I haven't added them to the rewards stuff, but like maybe we are gonna like slip a little surprise in for the backers, for the ones who have the physical stuff.
Okay.
Because I have
Cool.
a bunch of them since Adventure X. So
Yeah, I have one too.
they went out quite quickly, actually. So.
Yeah, it's cool. Now you said it's out this year, 2023. Do you have a potential date or
we don't want to set an
Q4?
exact date yet, but it's like going to be within the Q4 period. So, yeah. But I don't want to set a date because if there's anything that comes up and the Kickstarter fails, then maybe we don't. I don't know how it's going to end, depending on how the Kickstarter ends.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Okay. Now Westmark, it's in the town of Bournemouth.
Yeah.
That's it. That's right. You said you're looking at basically long term, more adventures in this town. Have you written anything
not in
like
the
that?
Town itself. It's gonna be like the Foretold is gonna be telling different stories in different periods and places. So it's
okay.
So
yeah. So have you made any plot points for any future games? And if so, because this is your first card game, obviously the last one was a different style altogether. Will your next one be completely different as well?
No, that's kind of where we're at. Like we've built a nice system for the game to work and like expand upon, so we can just work and add new features and kind of hone what we have and make it better as we go along. Like story wise, I'm looking into everything that's gothic, like werewolves, vampires, like ghouls and goblins, like stuff like that. So anything goes. I have built like a whole kind of lore around the world and the mystery kind of thing. So there's more to it than this game. So you can always pick from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, fingers crossed, touch wood, that this Kickstarter is successful and we everything goes smooth sailing. So it gets out in 2023. Because like I said, it was I want to go back and play the demo again, which I might do because take even more paths and see if I can beat a few of the characters that killed me last time. Where can people? Well, we'll leave the link to the Kickstarter down below. But where else can people find you and Nodbrim online?
Yeah, we are available at Twitter at Nodbrim, Nodbrim. Same as our website, nodbrim.com. Those are easiest places to go because we have links to everything on our website and our Twitter. So if anybody's interested, that's the best way to get in touch with us. Yeah. If you've played the demo before, you can get into, anybody can get into the Steam forums and just write to us there. We're also available at Discord. If anyone wants to join the community, it's free for all. Yeah. Just come in and have a chat. Yeah, links are on the website if anybody's interested.
Cool. Well, I'll also leave all of those links down below, and I definitely urge everyone listening to this and watching this to go and support the game and get in contact with Martin and the guys at Nodbrim. Thank you so much for your time, Martin. Is there anything else that you want to bring to the table at all?
I mean, I love your podcast, so that's kudos to you. And like the whole YouTube thing, I watch you quite a lot. So
thank you very much. I'm going to cut that bit out and I'm going to lead with the interview for that. No, unfortunately, I normally have my good friend Turian here along with me as well, but he's still poorly. He was poorly at the weekend, so unfortunately we can't have him here today. But yeah, thank you very much, Martin, and best of luck with the Kickstarter. We'll do our best here to push it out for you as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot.